I'd like to call this meeting to order and recognize that tonight's meeting is being held on the traditional territory of the Snuneymuxw people. Today is Pink Shirt Day. You can see some of us, most of us, pretty much everybody has some pink on except for Jamie's got his thing there, except for Mr. Davey, but we'll talk about that later. But anyways, today is Pink Shirt Day. Today across Canada, we celebrate Pink Shirt Day. It is a day where we encourage everyone to wear something pink to show that we're all working together to prevent bullying in our schools, in our communities, and online. Thank you to all our students and staff who wore pink today for this very important initiative. And I just wanted to speak to this briefly. You know, we come here every year, we put on our pink shirts on this day, and we talk about how important it is, then we take it off and put it back in our closet and we go about our business. That's not good enough. You know, we are all leaders here. We have our student leaders, we have staff leaders, trustees, we're leaders, we've got Dale, he's a leader. We have to appreciate how important it is to carry on and stop the bullying. You know, bullies are cowards. They're not just in the schoolyard, they're in the workplace, they're online. You know, those people are cowards, and we can stop it together. So it's our responsibility as a group to step up and stop bullying. And when we take our shirts off today, let's not forget that. I know I'm going to try harder. So let's stick together and put a stop to this. So thank you, everybody. And Dale's got a video today that was shot in the schools today. Is that correct?
Sure, yes. So really quickly, these photos that we have in here, one was taken in this building, and the other photos were supplied by the schools. So we thank the schools for that. Now let's give it a play. It's only a minute long.
You've got 30 seconds.
That was made by Tiffany, my multimedia designer, our multimedia designer specialist. She did a fabulous job, and it was done just today. So we got all that today. I'm going to start that. Don't need to see it again.
Thank you, Dale. Thank you. All right, so moving along. Transfer of items to the open meeting agenda. Additions. We have 16.1, which is the AMP report. It'll be under new business, 16.1. Any deletions to the agenda? Seeing none. Any changes in the order? I would like to make a suggestion that we move the Ladysmith group right to the end of the order.
Yeah.
So about 10:30 or so? Yeah. Just kidding. Any objection to the approval of the agenda? Seeing none. Any objection to the approval of the minutes? 7.1. Seeing none. Any objection to receiving the Section 72 report? Seeing none. Announcements and reminders. The Education Committee meeting March 7th at 4 p.m. Is that right? Yeah. Okay. Business Committee meeting March 7th at 6 p.m. Oh, yes, thank you. The regular board meeting March 14th at 6 p.m. And spring break. Schools are closed from March 17th to April 2nd. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, we should. We're going to vote on that later tonight. Presentations. Mr. Christensen and Mrs. Lushtower have their group from Ladysmith, so the floor is yours.
The Ladysmith Secondary School Placemaker team, and for the past 5 months or so we have been working diligently towards a project that the Cowichan Valley Regional District had given us. Essentially, the Placemaker project is a project that has been created to bring students in their communities together to face issues that are breaking down, that are making their youth communities not as strong.
Yeah, so we created a short video showing what we thought was lacking in our community and ways that we could improve it. And we brought it to a board of elected officials on November 30th at the Cowichan Theater. And there it was in a competition with a lot of other projects from different schools in the Cowichan area. And since then, we have presented to our town, Ladysmith, and we haven't made any changes to the video because we wanted to bring it to you, the school district, today to get some of your feedback.
So please enjoy the video.
Hello, we are the Ladysmith Secondary School Placemaker team. For the past month, we've been working diligently on creating a place where kids can be themselves and still be safe. Our idea is to create a sense of community within the Ladysmith teen population. When we first came to brainstorm ideas for this project, we asked ourselves, how can we build up a sense of community within Ladysmith teens?
In our beautiful town, youth do not have many spaces where they can be themselves in a fun but respectful way. By not having these spaces, many teens make poor decisions such as using drugs and alcohol. Our main idea for this project is to create a space where youth can congregate and form an inclusive youth community. This space will be for teens to express themselves in ways they maybe can't in other spaces. By creating this youth community, we will ensure that all teens feel welcomed and safe.
To see what teenagers in the Ladysmith region would like in this space, we surveyed 164 teens from grade 8 through 12th. As you can see, the survey helped us gain lots of positive feedback for this project. The most requested service was free Wi-Fi, with 156 out of 164 selecting it on their survey. The second most requested service was reasonably priced food and beverages, followed by easy accessibility.
Our project will create a space where teens of all ages, races, cultures, and sexualities can thrive harmoniously while building a sense of community that is currently quite lacking in the Ladysmith teen population. Our project will create not only a safe space physically, but a safe space emotionally and non-judgmentally.
The design idea we have planned for this project includes a small cafe that will serve reasonably priced food and beverages. We would also include an area for quiet studying and reading, a spot equipped with board games, comfortable chairs, and a small stage to hold open mic and live music nights.
In our space, there will be many opportunities for youth to participate in activities that they would enjoy. These activities would include things such as karaoke nights, board games, or art programs. We can also host book clubs, study groups, and other things. All these activities would help to make a positive, inclusive community environment. We realized that a project like this would be costly. Because of this, we have decided to look into local partnerships with local organizations. These organizations include the Ladysmith Resource Center Association, the Ladysmith Art Council, Mr. Braun, the woodwork teacher at Ladysmith Secondary School, and Frank Jameson Community Center. Idea to each of them, and they're all willing to help contribute in some way. For example, the Ladysmith Resource Center Association has already looked into buildings we would be able to use for our project. We also met with the Ladysmith Art Council, and they would be happy to run art classes and other programs out of the building. We also met with the Ladysmith Youth Plan team, and they are very excited by our ideas and are planning to use them in the future for our community.
In early October, we were given a tour of a former Canis Diner in downtown Ladysmith on 1st Avenue. We liked this space because it has a good location in the center of downtown Ladysmith and will therefore make it accessible for most teens. The layout is also ideal for what we have planned. However, the building is quite costly.
Since we like the layout of this building, but deemed it unattainable because of its costs and needs for renovation, we created a list of top criteria based off of the amenities we provide to use when searching for a new location.
It includes a central location, wheelchair accessibility, space for a working kitchen, 2 bathrooms, a relaxing, fun, and safe atmosphere, classes and programs running out of the building, art classes, discussion groups, etc., and space for tables up front and a quiet reading setting area in the back.
To determine the cost of this project, we used the former K&S Diner as the base of our budget. To start up this project, it would cost around $470,000. This may seem like a lot to you, but it includes the cost of the building, appliances, and other things such as lighting and furniture. However, with thrifting and finding sales, we can probably take off about $10,000 worth of this cost, if not more.
In the future, we will present our ideas to the Board of Ladysmith. If they like our ideas, they may give us a building. In that case, it will only be $40,000 to start it. It will also cost $40,000 to run it yearly. Our organization would be non-profits, we would be eligible for government grants, therefore reducing the cost even more.
The source of that project is the safety and security of the building and the youth. The building would be in a safe location and there would be a presence of an adult at all times. We would love to collaborate with the IU students to provide them with a local volunteer experience in our town. We've also spoken with many volunteer organizations who would be willing to come in and watch over to make sure nothing gets out of control. A trustworthy adult would be in charge of opening up and locking up each morning and night. During this project, our group has tried to be as environmentally friendly as possible. For example, our building will include recycling, compost, and if we are ever to sell food for takeout, we would use paper instead of styrofoam. Our group has also looked into more energy-efficient lighting for our building. Because of lack of community in Ladysmith, many teens resort to online communication as their only form of interaction. As you all know, it is much healthier for teens to communicate in a safe space where they're not on their phones. Our cafe would create that space where teens can interact and form better real-life relationships. We would still provide free Wi-Fi as requested, but we would encourage teens to unplug and join in activities that would strengthen their face-to-face personal relationships. Even though this is a student-based project, there are many adults who have put their time and effort into making our dreams into a reality. These adults include, but aren't limited to, our incredible teacher, Ms. Leschaller, the realtor of the former K&S Diner, Mr. Ed Williams, the Ladysmith Youth Plan Committee, and all who have put their hard work into our project that is so important to build a healthy, strong, inclusive youth community. I speak on behalf of my group when I say how thankful we are to have participated in such an inspiring and motivating project. We all hope that one day this project can bring a stronger sense of community to Ladysmith. Thank you!
So even though our project wasn't chosen for in the Cowichan District Regional Competition, we would still love to see this project go through in our community in Ladysmith, for it would build a healthier and stronger youth community.
Yes, and our goals for the future are to continue presenting to other local organizations such as the Kinsmen and the Rotary Club. By doing this, we hope that this will increase community support and awareness to our project.
We thank you for giving us the time to present this to you, and now we ask if there are any questions or concerns that you might have.
Well, first of all, on behalf of our board and our school district, thank you very much for coming and presenting to us tonight. We say this around this table often. It is rare that kids disappoint, and you guys haven't. I mean, you know, we have big discussions at this table sometimes they're not pleasant, but every time the students step up, they always do a great job, and you guys are no exception. So thank you so much. You should be very proud of yourself. You have great kids here, and thank you for everybody for coming. I'm sure there'll be some questions here for you. I know I have a question, is how are you making out with your goal here, and have you had anybody write you a check for $450,000 yet?
Not yet, but like I said, we're going to soon arrange a meeting with the Kinsmen and the Rotary Club, so we hope to see something happen out of that. Yeah.
Excellent. Trustee Berzovic?
Thank you. Through the chair. Excellent presentation and really great video, great work. Have you connected with Nanaimo Youth Services at all? Because it looks like they've started something like that here in Nanaimo, and they might have leads for you on other funding.
Go ahead. We have not. We haven't spent time looking in Nanaimo because we've been very busy in Ladysmith.
For sure.
But I'm sure that it'd be a good idea to get in contact with them as soon as possible.
And it's a very new thing, but they might have some leads for you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Sorry, do you mind if I answer that question?
Sure.
Sorry, my name's Christy Villiers, and I'm with Social Planning Cowichan, and we're the organization that supported this project. And I did want to say, because we've been supporting all the different school groups, trying to get their projects to come to fruition. And they mentioned very clearly that they've been working, they're going to present to the Rotary. And then you mentioned the Nanaimo Youth Services, because we actually have a counselor on the town of Ladysmith who just retired from Nanaimo Youth Services. And so he's been really supportive in trying to kind of work some stuff behind the scenes and try to kind of approach different businesses and stuff in the town of Ladysmith. And the town of Ladysmith also is working on a youth services strategy, which they mentioned. And a big part of that is delivering new services. So really, their whole project is actually pushing that project ahead, which is amazing. And so then it just comes down to getting space, because they can deliver the services and programs that they're requesting. So hopefully that's helpful.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. I know, and the reason I asked that is I guess what I'm wondering mostly is how can we support you with your next steps? And I'm hearing that your issue is funding, which, I mean, we don't have money that we can really give you. We can't give you $470,000, but we might have resources in terms of helping you find grants. You know, or we could make a motion at some point to write you letters of support when you get to that point where you're applying for grants. So I guess that's what I'm asking is, what do you need right now?
You can go ahead. You say the grant, and then I'll say coverage.
Okay. Yeah, so that's why we came here today, was just to get more people involved so that we can have those resources that in the future people can help us with the finances and things like that. And so today we just really wanted to come in and get more people with power involved so that we can start to really make a change with this project. Yeah.
Yeah, we came because we wanted to spread more awareness about this project. Like, we're just a small group of kids from Ladysmith, and if we talk to a bunch of adults from Nanaimo, we might be able to spread more awareness and just get more people involved. So that's pretty much the main thing that you guys could do right now, like just spread awareness, like tell your friends, and just talk about this project, because we really like to see it go through in Ladysmith, because
it's definitely something.
It's something we need.
Well, the good news is this will be on our YouTube channel, and you know, this is broadcast live right now, so there's probably 3 or 4 people watching that you'll be able to. But it will go on to our webpage, and your presentation will go on to our webpage, so we can definitely help spread the word that way. Trustee Kimler?
Yeah, and maybe one of those 2 or 3 people watching are writing a check right now.
Who knows?
So as a zone trustee for the Ladysmith zone, you've done me proud tonight, and you basically are my zone report, so thank you very much for that. I do have a couple questions, and I guess one is that I know that you've presented before the Ladysmith Town Council, and I'm wondering what sort of feedback you've received from them after your presentation. And then the other question is in the video you talk about having an adult open in the morning and then close in the afternoon. So is your vision to have the youth center open for the entire day on school days, or is it more for after school?
Okay, can I answer the second question first? Okay, so our vision is to have like mostly the youth place opened after schools, mostly because teens wouldn't be going there during school, and it'd be like not every day a week, but we want to start slowly with at least 2 days a week, and then build up more and more days, and then on on weekends we'd have longer hours, and same with Saturday and Sunday, and on Friday we would go till longer because it's not a school day beforehand. And what's the first
feedback?
Oh yeah.
For the feedback from the town, I think it was just mostly to come here. The feedback from the town was really just to get the word out even more, and just to keep on changing our presentation and just tweaking it until we got the right message out. but we decided not to tweak it for tonight because we wanted the original presentation to go to you guys and then have your feedback, and then we would change our presentation for the Rotary and Kidsmen.
Trustee Brown? Thanks for the great report. It was a great presentation. It was, I guess, if you talk to young people from Tuktoyaktuk to Timmins, Ontario to Tofino, you get pretty well the same answer. What do you want? And young people want a place to go that's theirs, where they can be together with other young people and do things that they're interested in, whether it's ping pong or games or whatever. I would suggest that you do contact Steve Arnett. He's retired now, but I think he's still on council, isn't he?
Yeah.
In Ladysmith. I mean, he's a man that's secured millions of dollars in grants for Nanaimo Youth Services to provide direct services to young people in the Nanaimo area. So he knows how to get money. He has that expertise. So I suggest you talk to him. You already have, obviously, presented to him. But you might want to give him a phone call and ask if he'd be interested. He must have time in his hands now, being retired. So try that, but good luck with your project.
Definitely
it's great.
take that up. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Trustee Rowley?
I love your idea, just because it's youth coming up with services for youth as opposed to adults telling you guys, hey, these are your youth services. It's like grassroots, right? So I love that. I'm just wondering if you guys have linked up or heard of any other programs that have kind of come to fruition or been approved or had finances. A situation like yours where kids have started it and then it's been successful.
So we had about 8 high schools participate in the project, and every high school brought something different. There was a few that definitely identified a lack of spaces for youth to go to, Ladysmith and Lake Cowichan, and then we actually had a couple of designs from Cowichan tribes who put forward some safety issues. And so the ones that happened in North Cowichan around some of the safety for Cowichan tribes members actually is in feasibility study mode right now with North Cowichan. There is a bike share program that is also in feasibility study mode with North Cowichan right now as well. And there's a few that are going through City of Duncan, like a parkour park in McAdam Park. So there is feasibility studies right now for those pieces right now. Yeah, and the town is very supportive of delivering the services that they're requesting. It's just, as we know, it's finding that space. They have a space in the Frank Jameson Community Center, but that space just doesn't seem to fit for the youth in the community, so they need to actually look for other space, and of course cost is a big one for a smaller community.
Thank you. Trustee Robinson?
Yeah. When you first had this glimmer of an idea and the group of you started to chat, had you any idea you were going to be looking for $500,000? Do you find that a little bit overwhelming? Although if someone gave you a building, it's only $40,000. That's quite doable. $40,000.
Go ahead. Okay. So we actually had no idea how much this was going to end up costing, and it was a little bit of a surprise. But if we did get that building, this was just like the maximum, because like you could probably get a lot of the stuff, at secondhand or at thrift stores. But we were just going from the main price because we wanted to make sure that they knew that this, if we got everything new, bright and shiny, then this was going to be what it was going to be, what it was going to look like. But it would actually, if we had a building, the rest of it would be a lot less.
Yeah, and so could you add something? Yeah. And when we were originally given this project by the Cowichan District, we were told not to think about the cost and just go crazy, which is essentially what we did. And so then after, because this was a semestered course, leadership, that we did this project in, and after the semester ended, we started thinking less and less about the craziness and more about the cost and the actual reality of it. And so now we're just kind of getting into the groove of thinking about how much it would cost and all the reality stuff after we have our big idea. Yes. So yeah, that's just a little side note.
Do you think if you were to give yourself a percentage, there's 50% chance you might be successful and get a building? 70, 80, 90?
Well, 99.
I'm going to say that we are 99.9% there, because we're just going to keep on going and going to anyone who is going to listen to us, because we're going to try because we want this community in Ladysmith, and we aren't people who will give up.
We're not quitters.
Awesome.
So, yeah.
Well done.
That is an impressive statement, and you guys just mentioned something, and when I went with Trustee Kimler to see your presentation at the City of Ladysmith, or the town of Ladysmith, your course was a first semester course, correct? And
Yes.
you guys aren't even in the course anymore.
No.
But you're just continuing on this passion that you have to do something, and it's clear that you all do, so well done. Trustee Solomon?
You guys are doing a great job, and your vision and your commitment, it's off the charts, so that's fantastic. And I think because we're a bit bigger here in the NYMO, I think we've had a few options through the NYMO Youth Services, as well as the neutral zone, are places where young people do go in the evening and have had programming and that. So there's a huge need here, and I know there's a huge need in Ladysmith as well. What I wanted to ask you is there something in Ladysmith on a much smaller version than what you're thinking about doing that's occurring right now? And I'm specifically about the Ladysmith Resource Center. Is there anything like this?
Yeah, right now in Ladysmith, there's a program at FJCC, and it's in the building with the pool, and there they run summer camps for teenagers, but it's not really for our age group. It's more for 12 and under, whereas we're looking for a space more 13 and above.
13 to 18.
Yeah, 13 to 18. So it doesn't really approve, it doesn't really interest us anymore, because it's kind of 10 to 12-year-olds running around down there, so... Yeah.
Also, it's in a very dark. It's in a basement.
It's at the bottom of the pool,
and it's kind of damp and dark, and there's no windows, and it's just kind of a sad space.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anybody else have any more questions, comments? Well, again, thank you so much for coming. If there's anything we can do, please reach out to us, write us a letter specifically, ask us a question, and we will do whatever we can to support you in your goal. And we are all very proud of everything you do. So thank you very much, sincerely.
Thank you.
So because, unfortunately for you, we have a rule at the school board which is different than other places. Since you were here at the start of the meeting, you have to stay to the end. Now, we'll stop for a couple minutes. If you want to stay, of course, you're more than welcome. But if you guys want to head out, we can do that too. I expect that your teacher and principal will be staying to the end.
Yeah. You forgot the cleanup rule too.
Right. It's a bully for.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Good job. Thanks. Good job, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks again for coming.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks for having us.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Hello, Mr. Blaine. How are you? Well.
Oh, Tony?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. He,
spread out a bit. Probably look real funny all gathered together. Thank you for coming.
How are you?
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody. Dale, you ready? MJ, you ready?
Can I say something before you go?
Absolutely, yeah.
So just as a bookkeeping measure, I would like to make a motion that we receive the presentation and that we add as an item under new business, a discussion about how the board can help them achieve their goals.
Can I have a mover or a seconder, please? A second by trustee Brennan. Any discussion?
I think it's a great idea.
Thank you. All in favor? Opposed? Carried unanimously. So that will be 16.2. Ladysmith LSS discussion. Thank you. Correspondence. 11.1 to 11.18.
Moving on to motion to receive and file.
Yes, receive and file. Second by trustee Berzovic. Any discussion? All in favor? Yep, go ahead.
So receive and file, so is there any response at all that's going to?
It's resolved. It's resolved. I mean, we sent the correspondence. They were just asking for us to support them in their initiative with the city, but this is it's a resolved issue. Go ahead.
Yeah, so just, I don't know, I would recommend that we receive and file and then just send, as a matter of formality, just send copies of all of the correspondence to the city to do whatever they want to do with it, but to let them know that we've been involved in.
Trustee Brosnan?
I'm not certain it's necessary at this point, given that it is resolved. I mean, I think that I would like us to talk to the city about the broad issue of where they're going to place housing and how it impacts the school district. But I would rather do that as a separate part of, our normal, regular, quarterly, or whatever meetings that we have with the city, rather than, I mean, this one's a done deal. So I don't know if it's necessary at this point.
Well, I'm sure they received correspondence from
Yeah.
these people themselves and don't need us to add to their paper.
Yeah.
And as the situation being resolved, it isn't resolved. We still have people sleeping on the street
Yeah.
in Nanaimo. And that's the social ill of this community. But in terms of locating it in Chase River, that's not going to happen. And
Right.
that's what they were wanting.
Yeah.
So they've achieved
Yeah.
what they wanted.
So I guess we'll vote on the motion whether to receive and file it, and if it's defeated, we can continue the discussion. So, all in favor? Bill, you all right?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Opposed? Opposed by trustee Kimler and trustee Solomon. Motion carried. Thank you. Trustee zone reports. Trustee Brosovich.
Okay, I'm going to keep mine really short because we've got presentations tonight. I mostly have been learning about all the great things happening at all of our schools for Pink Shirt Day, and also went and visited my schools and heard about all the really good Pro-D stuff. Was really pleased to hear, particularly at Frank Ney, they're really taking on Aboriginal issues and reconciliation and so on and so forth. A few of our schools are actually doing that. Randerson Ridge, I went and finally got to sit down and meet with the staff there, and things are going well there. There's a bit of frustration overall, and I've heard this from parents in the community, I've heard it from staff, and it's not our fault. This is a broad BC education issue around the number of the previous governments have changed the number of areas where students get designations, and there are basically kids falling through the cracks in terms of not getting designations, or the difficulty of getting certain designations because of wait lists in communities to get access to the pediatrician so that you can get what you need so that you can qualify. So it's something that we need to continue to be aware of in terms of the frustration of special needs kids sort of falling through the cracks a bit. On Thursday, tomorrow, I'm going to be heading over to Randerson again. They're doing a really cool, it's sort of like if you remember the old show Reach for the Top. It's a trivia type thing, but it's around like reading. It's a literacy project type thing for for the students in grade 5 and 6, and I'm going to go and watch them do that event tomorrow. Didn't get a chance to get to Pleasant Valley and Seaview this month, just because it was a bit of a shorter month. And I connected with my other schools. We're planning around the transition committee for the Rutherford closure. We're in the stage now where we're talking about and planning and making arrangements for the Rutherford kids to go and attend their new schools for a day. And they're doing that by grade groupings, so that we can keep it focused and really give kids a chance to see the schools where they'll be going. So I'm going to be coming to some of those events in April, and I think it's April and May, or yeah, I'm pretty sure it's April and May. So I'm going to be coming and helping out with some of those things, because they're going to be doing some fun events, like some interactive games and that, so the kids can get to know each other. So yeah, so that's what's happening
Great,
for now.
Thank you. I'm not sure where Trustee Roby got to. We'll circle back to him.
Yeah, he's here.
Comes back. Trustee Solomon.
Sure, a couple of things. It was really nice at the award ceremony, the sports award ceremony, to see one of our own, Joel Smith, win the award for the field lacrosse. He's from MD. He didn't want to be there. He's a humble guy. Doesn't want to be in the spotlight. But the commitment that he's made was recognized, and it was really nice to see that. So. Also got some kudos for the field. Andy Gump Reynolds was there and says, and they've traveled all through the States and have been to a lot of, and he says this is the best field. He says it's fantastic. So you're getting it from somebody that's actually, they've seen the kids play on all that stuff. The Gumper. Gump Worsley, you probably don't even know, but whatever, Gump Worsley. Yeah. Island Connect had a great event a couple of weekends ago. Is the Nanaimo Science and Sustainability Society, and so it was a great event. It was all Saturday, and I was just going to do a couple of these little quotes here that they had on the boards, and I thought it just fits with their motto really, really well. To invent, you need a good imagination and a pile of junk. So that's what Thomas Edison, that's a quote from him. Totally agree. And science and everyday life cannot and should not be separated. I mean, in every day you live, every day you do stuff, every day you can learn. But it was great. They had so many different presenters. Fisheries and Oceans had a hands-on touch table, makerspace, astronomy was there, wildlife recovery, engineers fishing for fun, geoscientists, beekeepers. You could program a robot, and Northwest Hydraulics had this. I wish I had a picture of it. It was incredible display. It was really, really neat. So I got that at Cedar Elementary. I figured out what they're doing with these totem poles. I was trying to figure out how are they going to make a totem pole for every classroom. Anyway, so I figured out what they're doing. So they're getting the forms from Rona. Where you pour the cement for the poles, which is great, and they're getting them donated. And so each of them will have a theme, and so they'll have a totem pole in each classroom. So that's cool. And I learned that Cedar Secondary, because it's classified as a small school, so they basically travel to smaller communities to play other schools. So they get a chance to travel and do some stuff, and like the Port Alberni, and they're in the tournament in Ucluelet, which is kind of a neat thing for a lot of the kids. It doesn't mean they're going to win, and they do really they do brilliantly, but they have an opportunity that some of the other schools don't have. So I think that's really cool. Anyway, that's it.
Thank you, Trustee Solomon. I am going to speak on my first DPAC meeting. I was able to go to the DPAC meeting last week and was there to listen to their concerns, so I've jotted them down and I'll read them. A motion was passed to submit a resolution to BCCPAC. Be it resolved that the District Parent Advisory Council of Nanaimo Ladysmith Public Schools research and write a resolution for submission to BCCPAC to advocate for cooperation between the Ministry of Education and the Ministry of Children and Families to ensure that students in care who are enrolled in public education receive necessary funding to stay in care until they obtain graduation, thereby increasing their potential to achieve their diploma. Their concern, it was a really great conversation, is that at 18, kids, they age out. And, you know, as some of the PAC members were saying, you know, what normal 18-year-old kids have to worry about, or grade 12 students have to worry about, should be graduating and, you know, what they're doing on the movie on Friday night. Half of these, or some of these kids, are actually worrying about where they're going to be and where they're going to live. And it was a powerful discussion, and I think this is a great resolution. Water testing and fill stations. PACs are appreciative of the timeline that has been moved forward to complete testing, and still feel that it is a priority to see water fill stations installed in all schools where testing requirements and lead levels are not acceptable. The PACs are looking forward to hearing back from the superintendent and / board on the elimination of custodial fees charged to PACs when they're housing fundraising events in their schools. These events provide much needed funds to PACs, who in turn return all proceeds of their fundraisers directly back into the school and classrooms for students. A return to when PACs were not charged for these fees would mean increased funds back in the classroom. So that's an important initiative that I know that the president of DPAC has been discussing with Superintendent Blaine. And one other thing I took out of the meeting was that further discussion is needed around the communication process to parents around assessment. There still is lots of concern and angst out in the communities about the new way we are doing it, and we need to work on constantly to get a better message out. So anyways, that's what I took from the meeting. It was a pleasure to be there. I look forward to the next one. So, Trustee Kimler?
Yeah, thank you for the DPAC report. That was interesting. So we saw tonight, from tonight's presentation, a group of kids from Ladysmith, and that's part of my zone report for tonight. In addition to that, there's a lot of good things going on at the Ladysmith Secondary School with regards to Aboriginal education, and I won't go over all of them, but the first couple are pretty interesting. So the same leadership students that we saw here tonight hosted grade 7 students from Ladysmith Intermediate for a modified Northern Games tournament. So students had 3 hours of fun, culture, as well as physical activity. The leadership students planned, organized, and executed 6 activities for more than 100 students. Events included bottom scoot, caribou carry, back push, Alaskan high kick, stick pull, and the leg wrestle. And all of the events were challenging and fun. And they're also doing an elder project. So Ladysmith Secondary hosted School District 68's Elder Project on February 14th. The Land and Language-Based Learning, LLBL students, interviewed elders to learn about their lives and hear about their teachings. Students will take the interviews that they conducted and turn them into poetry, and they will be published into a book. And on April 4th of this year, coming up here soon, Ladysmith and NDSS students will have a combined book launch and reading at the Port Theater at 7 p.m. I have nothing really new to report from Ladysmith Primary School, but at Ecole North Oyster, they had a readathon fundraiser and raised a total of $6,493 for the school library. And during the 2-week challenge, the students read for a combined 109,569 minutes, which in other terms is 1,826 hours or 76 days of reading, which is a fair amount. And the title to this, and this is a bit of a challenge between Solomon and myself, and I have to say that he owes me $10, because Cedar Volleyball took a beating. The Bantam girls showed improvement in their skills in calling balls and team spirits, which was especially evident during their exceptional win over Cedar Elementary. And the Bantam boys team showed positivity and team building on the court, which translated into a playoff win against, guess who? Cedar Elementary. So I'll collect after the meeting.
Is that U.S. funds? Or?
Either one's fine. the Canadian dollar is strengthening. Ladysmith Intermediate School. February is the Act of Kindness Month. Some of their classes have been walking around town handing out Tim Hortons gift cards to strangers, making cookies for other classes, and reading to seniors at the retirement home. Language and culture is a part of learning at LIS every day. And recently the Ladysmith Intermediate Culture Club made cedar bark heart baskets, and staff participated in a talking circle and created their own talking feathers to help facilitate talking circles within their own classes. And the teachers underwent a pro development day here recently, and teachers practiced science, technology, engineering, and math activities, computational thinking, and calming techniques and classroom management in the morning. And then in the afternoon was spent going over First Nation resources and developing cross-curricular lesson plans.
Thank you. Trustee Robinson?
Excuse me. I had the pleasure of speaking on behalf of the board and the district at the official opening of the McGirr Accessible Playground. And a few days later, I was at Georgia and saw the playground that we have. There are 3 kids in wheelchairs there, and they cannot get on the playground, the one that's set aside for them. So since that time, I've been working with the PAC at McGirr, who have been extraordinarily willing to share contacts and work with us. And the PAC chair happens to be married to a man who installs playgrounds, so she is very aware. And Pete Sabo has come out and met with us as well, and that's where the rubber hits the road. Pete's the guy that's going to be working at making this thing happen. I have offered to help in writing funding proposals, and with the support of McGirr PAC and Georgia PAC. So I'm excited. I believe there will be some funding available in our budget, fingers crossed. And I think we're going to be successful at raising significant funds in a short time. So hopefully within the next year, maybe 2, we'll have a new accessible playground at Georgia Avenue. I attended the City Council meeting where the Chase River PAC filled the place to let the council know their feelings about the housing project. And honestly, I wasn't in a rush to bring it back to the school board. It was pretty obvious from the response of councilors that if it went ahead, it was going to be in a different location. And so that's the way it turned out. I have met a couple of times with Deb Marshall and Colleen, the librarian, working on the living library that we do. We have 38 to 40 people representing a wide cross-section of trades and professions and other jobs. The one thing I'm really excited about is I have a 45-year-old guy welder and a 21-year-old female welder who will be sharing a table. I think that's pretty exciting to give Barsby women an opportunity to see you can be. And welding is one of the tougher trades, I think. So anyway, very excited about that, and we met actually today and pretty much finalized our list. And that's pretty exciting. It's our 4th year doing that. The best me I can be, I've talked about this before, but our first presentation resulted in one young boy, grade 1 at Georgia, who had, I believe through his whole school career, refused to write tests because he didn't think he could. And I remember reading his certificate, and the teacher, Kelly, wrote, "You always work hard." There was something else, and then she said, "Remember, I think I can. Well, he got his certificate in the frame, and 2 days later they had a spelling test. He wrote the spelling test and got 5 out of 6. So I think the concept of this project aimed at giving kids who are maybe less than prepared or not as confident as they should be, it gives them that little spark. And there are a couple more stories like that I think it's working. I know it's working. Reconciliation, I've met with Stephanie Johnson. I don't know how much detail I should bother going into now. We've set a mini committee to help organize for the main committee. And that will be Stephanie Higginson, Stephanie Johnson, myself, and Lawrence Mitchell from Sonawas, who will be our cultural advisor through this whole process. So I think we're starting something that's really going to be helpful as we hit one of our main 4 goals for this board. And along with Trustee Ray and Trustee Brozovich, I used my artistic, well-known and appreciated across the country artistic skills to judge their patch contest. This patch is going to go up with NASA. Anyway, talking to those 2 teachers that have started that and have already gathered most of the funding for next year to do it, and have some really interesting plans they want to discuss with staff and the board for getting more schools involved in this amazing science and art project. We discussed this at agenda setting yesterday. After the budget, we'll have those teachers, and it's probably a guarded secret, but one of the 3 kids whose project was selected to go up into space from all across North America is some kid named Davy. Yeah. Timothy? Tim Davies' son. Yeah, you know, he missed the cut. And there's a teacher, Phoenix Alexandra, who is First Nations New Zealander. She's a Maori, and she is doing amazing work at Bayview. One of the things in particular is I think it's the last Friday of every month, she does a lunch for parents and kids. There were at least 6 or 7 Sanemo parents there who they were the last to leave, really interested in what was going on. There must have been 18 or 19 parents. And she's doing some other amazing things, so I'm hoping we can get her in to present to us after the budget. That wraps it up for me.
Great, thank you for keeping it under 5 minutes.
And I have no report this month, thank you.
10.
Pardon me?
I have no report this month.
Okay, thank you. What happened to Trustee Roten? He left?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I will be leaving early, but I'm going to leave, so.
Okay, all right. I was just going to give him an opportunity to speak, but I didn't realize he had left. Thank you. From the Education Committee, Trustee Robinson, do you want to read these with your big radio voice?
Oh, yeah. I thought Natasha would be here. Where are we from the...
Page 3 of 83, 13.1.1.
Yeah. That the Board of Education of School District 68 in Nanaimo Ladysmith approved the attached local school calendar with the amendment of the additional non-instructional day for the purpose of curriculum in service.
Can I have a mover and a seconder, please? Moved by Trustee Brozovic, seconded by Trustee Brennan. Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried unanimously. Thank you.
that the Board of Education of School District 68 and Nanaimo Ladysmith establish an advisory committee to discuss the board's goal of reconciliation. The board will appoint a chair to the committee and determine the composition of such committee to include representatives from the board, education committee, and district staff. The advisory committee will report to the Board of Education through the Education Committee on a regular basis.
Can I have a mover and a seconder, please? Moved by Trustee Brennan, second by Trustee Brozovic. Any discussion?
Yes, actually. When we made this motion, there were quite a number of us who wished to be involved, in board members to be involved, and I believe Mr. Superintendent had said that he was going to figure out a way to make it work so that most of us who want to have we sorted out anything around the composition?
Not yet, just waiting for the motion.
Oh, okay.
I think we're working through that process.
Okay.
Any other discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Thank you, Trustee Robinson. From the Business Committee, I see nothing. Senior staff reports. 14.1, Superintendent Blaine.
Thank you. So, as the board's aware, we're into presentations from the different departments within that here, and to inform the board of the previous year's work. There are new goals, there are discussions, there are analytics that are backing that up. And so we have 3 more presentations to present to the board tonight. And I believe the first one is communications. Mr. Burke.
Yeah. And if he is a good communicator, he'll be able to keep it to 20 minutes. We'll find out. No pressure.
Keep the hook in hand.
Put the trap door out.
Okay. How much time do we get again?
5 minutes.
It was 20 minutes. But
Thank you. Okay, let's get started. Thank you for having me. I will get started here. This is the first slide of 83. I'm not going to walk around because the audio is the best right here. Just putting that out there for the other presenters tonight. A little bit of background from the 2017-18 budget. This was what I presented last year and where I was needing a little bit more money. Community engagement, advertising, enhanced online presence, PD, and travel. I'll break those down in these following slides. What we accomplished in 2017-18. Community engagement and advertising. Thought exchange was one of the big opportunities for us as a district. We were hearing more and more that parents and students were receiving surveys, and that's how we've done things in the past. However, we wanted to do things a little bit differently and be able to take their thoughts and feelings, and instead of just reading a 300-page report, it would be nicer to have those thoughts broken down, give us those high-level feelings of what people are looking for in the schools. So as it stands right now, from February 21st to March 7, we're currently in a thought exchange engagement. That's happening right now. There's one big question, and it's what's going great in your school and how can we improve it? So it's a 2-parter, but one question. It's looking pretty good. I took a look at what the engagement is looking like so far, and we've got a lot of respondents, a lot of students, and a lot of parents. I was telling Superintendent Blaine earlier today that a lot of parents have already taken part. And that just goes to show that doing things a little bit differently, getting those thoughts in a way that we've never done before is something that a lot of parents and students right now are enjoying and taking part in. School Messenger was also one of the big additions for this year. Parents are going to be very happy with this, and what it is very quickly in past surveys and what a lot of parents have been telling us is that they want to hear from the school district directly and right away. And what School Messenger will do, even though it was a little bit of an investment, will give me, the communications department, the opportunity to email, text, a voice call, whether it's an emergency or if it's just sending out information. I can send it to parents of all the students in the district within a 10-15 minute period. It's so fast, and it's something that I'm looking forward to, especially in those situations where you want to directly connect with the parents. This will definitely help. Okay. Radio and social media ads. You've heard the radio ads. We played them for the central registration promotion this year.
social media ads, we changed things a little bit last year, and we cut out a lot of our print ads. So if for example, and sorry to a reporter here who works for the news bulletin, we would. Sorry.
He's not sorry.
No, I am. But we needed the best bang for our buck, and when we were spending $1,000 on one ad that would go out in the paper 1 day a week, and spending $100 that ran an ad on Twitter, for example, for 2 weeks, we were getting a huge return and eyes on that in the thousands, which I thought was a good move. Now we still are advertising because I do have to approve the advertising budget, so we still are using the NYMO news bulletin. So there you go. Enhanced live streaming. What we've done, and just recently, well, last budget rather, I asked for a little bit more money. I bought these cameras that you see here. We started out with 4 little webcams, and the picture wasn't the greatest. We've got 2 now that are high definition, that they can be moved, so you will see them moving back and forth, and they can be zoomed in and out. There's been a lot of great feedback on it. And just last week, we added a little bit more technology in terms of audio. We were just hearing from people out there that we were hearing pens clicking, or we were hearing just audio cutting out, or it just didn't sound good. Invested in a mixer board, very affordable, got it, and it sounds a lot better, happy to say. I hope I have it on right now, realizing that I'm over here and nobody's watching that mixer board. Powtoons, what you're wondering, if you're wondering what Powtoons is, those are our animation videos. We use a couple different versions, and Powtoons is just one of the popular ones. You've seen them already, parents, we've sent them out. We've shared them on social media, and we will be using it continuously. They've been working great for us. Again, a small investment. And then school stories, and those are something that we needed to allocate a staff person to get those school stories. And that, of course, is Shauna Watt, my executive assistant. She's the one that goes out to all the schools, and I'll give you a little bit of background on what she's been doing in the last little bit. What we accomplished for enhanced online presence, the other part of my ask in the 2017-18 budget. Updated district site, we've done that. We've created a more, I'll say, interactive website. On the homepage, you'll see good news stories all the time that would change almost on a weekly basis. We've got a YouTube video that we constantly change. We put a new one up today, that Pink Shirt Day one, that video that you saw. That's on the site right now. And then we also have the main feature, which is a picture, and that changes again, like I said, weekly. New school sites, the schools were very excited to be able to say, yes, I'd like to make our website look a lot like what the district one was, or is rather. I paid for that, so they were more than happy to move to that new template, and they're looking fantastic. We've got a couple outliers out there right now, and they're sticking with what they know and what they like. However, I'm slowly working on them, trying to get them on that new template. But again, it's up to them. Instagram we implemented a couple months ago. It's been pretty good. We've got some new followers almost every day, and they love seeing the pictures. That's what it comes down to, is people just loving to see pictures of what's happening in our schools. So that's going well. And then of course the mobile app, the intention for that is to upgrade it. It's now a couple years old, and happy to say, if for those that may not have heard it, we were the first school district in the province to implement a district-wide mobile app. Still very proud of that. And there's still other districts that are still asking how did we do it and who did it for us. On PD and travel, this is my department as a whole. There's me, who attends the conference. This past year was in Edmonton. The CASE conference is the Canadian Association of Communicators in Education. CPRS is Shauna DeBott. She's taking part in that one. Getting some training. Social media training is for Tiffany, our designer. She's getting some training in Victoria. And then the BC ECN, which is the BC Education Communicators Network. That's happening in meetings throughout the year in Victoria and Vancouver. So thank you again for those budget pieces. Really quickly here, and I won't go into too much detail, some highlights of what I do, or what I've done in the past year. This is not, of course, everything that's been done, but again, some highlights. Almost 100 mentions in the news in the last year alone. Those are just in our local stories. That's not worldwide. we did make some news worldwide there once in a while, but this is.
Hey, what are you looking at me for?
Yeah, right. Sorry, I did, didn't I? I looked right at you.
Put your mittens on.
Thank you for that, Steve. That's why I lost all my hair again.
Nice working with you.
It keeps going. That's right. Hometown hockey. I don't know where that accent came from. That was one of the big ones. We partnered. Steve and I partnered with the city of Nanaimo and some other partners in the city, and we put on a great show. People are still talking about it. We put zip lines up in Soilana Lagoon, and what else did we do, Steve? We did a lot of great things with hometown hockey, and we were told by the organizers that we probably put on one of the best ones they've ever put on. So again, very proud to be a part of that group. Strategic planning, we did come up with a new strategic plan as a board and as a district. The new transportation policy and admin procedure was also implemented this past year. Privacy, that continues through Freedom of Information requests. Advisor to schools, I do get a lot of calls from schools asking, should we do this, can we do this, when it comes down to privacy. The framework for enhancing student learning, that is a ministry mandated focus for all districts to take part of. We're heavily involved in that right now, and that thought exchange that I just mentioned a few minutes ago, that is to plan the framework and also 2020 vision, which is our budget. School Messenger I told you about, thought exchange, and of course the department restructure, which was me dealing with the higher level pieces, the vision, Shauna with the daily, and of course Tiffany with the multimedia design. I'd like to show you this. This, as you've heard in past meetings, we had bought a drone as a district. I had done a little bit of research. A drone would have cost about, to rent somebody to run a drone is about $750 for a couple hours, 3-4 hours. We bought one for not that much more, and we've been able to use it a considerable amount. And Pete Sable, our Director of Planning and Operations, just loves it. He asks me on a regular basis if we can get some shots. This is an example of one shot that I took at Solera Elementary. No audio, if you're wondering. It's a little choppy. It's usually much more smooth when you watch it, but it is through the quick shot.
There's my house.
But there it is. That's the view right above Solera Elementary. Beautiful. And is that you? Is that where you live?
Yeah.
Right now? Just right over there?
House, yeah. On the other side.
Okay, let me get back to my presentation here.
That sounded great.
Yeah, it doesn't take great audio, or no audio at all, actually. Okay, let's continue on here. Just cycle through these. Highlights for the Executive Assistant for Communications. In the last year, from January to January, had logged about 1,600 kilometers in and around the district and on the mainland. The Canada 150 flag was her idea. I thought it was a brilliant idea, and what that was, we had piggybacked on an event that students were at in Merle Logan Field, and we got kids in white and red t-shirts, and we put them in the shape of the flag. I've got a picture of that coming up. Push for Change was also one of her ideas. That took place at Cedar Community. John Barsby, Fairview, Park Ave, Brecon, and Georgia all took part in those presentations. Push for Change was is a gentleman who pushed a cart across Canada, and he was formerly a homeless person living in East Van, and he's now a millionaire CEO of his own company. So he's doing very well for himself. He shares these stories with students across the country. Website support through the Executive Assistant, schools, sexual health, social justice, the learning leadership portals, all those were done through the help of the Executive Assistant. Department support, HR, Central Reg, you can see there, and of course social media administrator. All three of us do social media, and then there's the Canada flag, the 150. Would have been great to have the drone then. Didn't have it yet. The picture on the left, you will notice that is the new district news template. Heard a lot of great comments of that. That's awesome. And then with the help of Tiffany, we created a new look for the Connected newsletter. Very good feedback on that as well. For Tiffany, our multimedia designer specialist, these are in order of her top requests for this past year, and she has been around now for a year. Brochures, newsletter, website, video promo, poster, flyer, and event branding. She's great with managing her time, and by looking overall in the last year, this was in order of most need in the district. Highlights, here are some of the examples of the Connect Ed magazines that she had put together. You can tell that we chose, we were very lucky, or we are very lucky to have her. She's very talented, and we hope to keep her for a very long time. There is also this, which is again a design, just showing you different designs. This is an example of what you would see on different devices. Right? So again, we try and make things look pretty in all sort of devices. This one's a video here, and I'd like to show this one to you. I don't have to close this again, but Tiffany put this together for us to watch today, and this one has all of it. And we are supporting e-portfolios through Fresh Grade. Parents have told
So the importance of data collection in student services is extremely important for our staffing purposes.
Are you expecting or do you have a child 6 years or younger? The Greater Nanaimo Early Years Partnership.
The Nanaimo Ladysmith Career Technical Center offers a unique educational opportunity.
So that's just an example. I asked her to put that together for our presentation today. Again, never disappoints. She does great work, and very, and like I said, happy to have her here. Now, a few more slides, and then we can keep moving on here. Okay, let's get to some stats, and you would have seen these in your binders. The district website, this is just the district website alone. These numbers are staggering for the size of district that we are. 1.3 million page views just in the last year alone. This is a 12-month review. 211,000 users. The next one's in the yellow bullet points here. These are where most people are visiting from in order of most visited. So Canada, of course, is the top, US, and then it goes to those other countries. So that makes it really interesting, especially for our international student program. They like to have stats like this. This really helps. So analytics has been a big part of what we've done in the last year. Demographics, you notice they're not in order, but that's who is using our website the most. Those are the demographics. So the 35 to 44 grade range is the ones that are using it the most. Yes. Question? Sure, of course.
Where it says 211,000, basically it says in brackets there 199 plus new users. How can you tell a new user from
IP addresses?
Oh, okay.
Yes. So unique IP addresses are an easy way for us to figure out who's new users. It's a good question. Good. Thank you. Okay. Into Facebook here, and you can see everything. These are the highlights. So in a 28-day period that ended on October 29, there was over 300,000 total impressions in that 28-day period. That was, I believe, looking back in the year, that was the highest point that we hit in the last 12 months. Top posts: Park Avenue threat, heavy metal rocks, cougar sighting near Koltai, artificial turf installation. Those are all, again, very, very exciting pieces, and those were the highlights from the last year. 28-day summary in this past 28 days. This was written just a couple days ago, so the numbers may have changed, but we're at about 14,000 in the last 28 days. It's a pretty good reach, especially for a district our size. For Twitter, this one continuously surprises me when it comes to impressions. In the last 12 months, over 1 million impressions. And that means that 1 million people has seen one of our tweets out there, shows up on their phone, shows up on their device.
Trustee, can I ask a question? When it comes to Facebook and Twitter, they're both social media apps. So my question is really, do we use Facebook and Twitter for engagement? In other words, do people ask questions and then as a school district we respond? Or is it mostly an information portal?
I'll say the majority of it is information portal, and that's a way for us to get the information out. It's not the be-all, end-all. I've always said that in the beginning. It's not just social media. You have to send emails, we have the mobile app, that sort of thing. But there are questions that are asked. and usually it comes through direct message. We get them directly, so it's not public. Sometimes there are messages or comments rather where there are questions, and we do get to answer them as we can. And then, I mean, that's primarily how we use it. Is that good? Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. 62,000 profile visits, 3,200 followers. That's where we're at right now. And our top tweets, hold and secure at multiple schools. This was not too long ago. I believe that was around 15,000 impressions. Hold and secure Frank J. Ney, that was around 12,000, I believe. and then Snow, the big one from last year. That one was considerable. Okay. Next steps, focus on engagement. Like I mentioned, School Messenger, we're implementing that right now. We have it at the secondary. We're going to be implementing that at the elementary schools. Student learning. Again, this is continuous. This doesn't end. We will continue to work with the Department of Learning Services to promote what they are doing. Sharing the good stuff. This is always a good thing, and my mandate early on in my career was always to share the good news. In a district of our size, there's many stories that we could share on a daily basis. We just have to be able to get those, and we're working on it right now. And new ways to share those stories. And technology, explore new technologies in communication. That will never end. I hear from parents all the time, and people who give me tips out there. I take a look at it, do a little bit of research. If it works, if it fits in the budget, then we should do it, if we get approval, of course. The ask for the 2018-19 budget, this is it. Let's get serious now. 0. I'm good. I have what I need. I'm good. I don't need anything else.
I like that.
If that wasn't clear, divide by 0, then divide that by 0. That's the amount that I need. Okay? Thanks, everybody. I appreciate it.
Approved. Thank you, Dale. First off, I think that your department has one of the most important jobs in the district. We do, as you mentioned there, we do a lot of good stuff in this district, and it is important that we get it out accurately. A lot of times on social media and other places, there are inaccuracies of what happens. So the more opportunities we have to put the accurate information out, that's great. And also to share concerns and all the other issues. So thank you to you and your department for your continued passion and hard work to getting the correct message out. So, Trustee Kimler, did you have something you wanted to add?
Yeah, so as we all know, I'm really big on the communications department, and it's been a pleasure to watch the department grow and become a bigger part of the organization. And it is right now what I can only suspect is probably a leader in for all school districts across the province, and I hope that we continue to grow in that area. And communication's one of those things. I think if you go out to the public and you talk to parents, they're always looking for more communication, more accurate communication, more timely communication, more meaningful communication, more relevant communication. So it's an area that I hope that we continue to invest in and grow in. So thank you for that. And then the fact that your budget is 0 makes it very easy.
Oh no, it's not 0. I just didn't need any more.
No. No. You misunderstood.
Yes.
Oh, okay, let's go back then.
Trustee Robinson.
Yeah, just first of all, every time I go to the website, it's new. There's something new there. So I have reason. And honestly, I went long periods of time where I never went to the website in the past. I now, every few days, think, I wonder what's happening there. So congratulations on that. That, I'm not sure what you call it, where the different things that are going on, all those circles that come out. You showed it here. Where it lets you know retirements, it lets you know...
Yeah, the district news.
District news, yes. That's so creative and so great. Your news updates almost every day. It makes it much easier for us to stay on top of things and know we're catching everything we should. Those are just a couple or 3 things that come to mind now. Tiffany is a huge bonus for us, and what's going on with your executive assistant. I mean, she is like 10 times, doing 10 times the work that she was a couple of years ago, or 3 or 4 years ago. Just great things going on there.
Thank you. Thank you. Trustee Solomon?
Just really quickly, I want to thank you, Dale. I think you did tremendous work. I think we're pretty much all agreed on that. We're very, very lucky to have you. So that's wonderful.
Superintendent Blaine?
Yeah, thanks. And Dale, as we're switching over here, I just, you can help me with a couple things. First off, for the board, through your support, we were able to shift Shauna to the assistant in communications assistant, and then also bring Tiffany on board, and it's really raised the profile of our documents and et cetera, and it's influencing the entire system. So that's great, and it's how you're siphoning out the work is great. The one thing I wanted to bring up to the board is, I think is for their information, is we're not doing a public forum this year around the learning piece, because at the end of last year, Dale and I talked about the lack of participation by people attending, right? And so I asked him to take a look at some different ways of doing that, and ThoughtStream came from that. But also, we talked about some numbers today of the number of parents, which were the ones that we were having difficulty getting feedback from. How many connections have we made for this one already?
Through Thought Exchange, I was told there was about 500 already engaged through the Thought Exchange engagement.
Yeah, so that's significantly more than what we would get when we would go out to the forum. So that's a shift when you start to see the surveys and et cetera. So it's very interesting to see how we move forward.
One more piece. Thank you, Chair Ray. Through the chair, I just wanted to thank everybody. Really, the success of our department, we've been doing a great job. It's not perfect. We are working on that, and I wanted to point that out there, but I have a great team, and the reason why is because of the support that I've received from the people in this room. You saw my vision, you understood it, and you're seeing the benefits of it right now, and so I do appreciate that. We're running very smoothly, as you can all tell, and things are going really well. Status quo, we're happy. Let's continue doing what we're doing. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Dale. Appreciate it. Steve?
Just a second here to set up. My mask isn't so.
Make sure you get that out there right at the beginning, Steve.
I got to get my big no stamp ready.
You must be retiring because I asked you not to talk about asks.
Yeah.
Tonight. You must be retiring because I asked you not to talk about asks tonight.
You did.
Oh, good.
How well did that work?
You agree?
Yeah. That's fine. Okay, let me stop here. Yeah, that's good.
The technology.
We need somebody in the technology background.
It's ironic, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Dale, can you help? I got one of the kids back here.
All right. So good evening, everyone. Let's see. So I'm just going to go over briefly some progress, and then looking at what we're planning out for next year. So. Sorry for all the text, I'm not going to read all of that. What that says is that we're doing really well. We've done a really good job up to so far, and that we's the collective we. That's not just information systems, although certainly the technical team had so very much to do with all of this. It's leadership from learning services, it's ETAG, it's facilities, it's teachers, it's principals and vice principals that made all this happen. So. We are elementary schools. We're at evergreen status. We've got a device ratio of 2.5 students per device or better. We don't have to spend any money on elementary technology for at least another year or two, because we've recently paid a lot of attention to elementary over the last 2 years, and so it's in really good shape at this point. Secondary schools also, we're at that student to device ratio. We're at the point where we evergreen the technology, but we have to get started on that right now because they've had a lot of old technology. We've concentrated on elementary over the last few years. and left secondary because they were in pretty good shape. But now it's time to pay attention to secondary. So. For secondary, what we're looking at is labs again. We put 2 labs in last year or in this year, and looking at putting a lab in next year in each of them, but not Cedar because Cedar had all new stuff when they started up. We're looking at teacher machines for secondary. And what we would do is replace, some schools have already spent money of their own on technology for teachers. We would redeploy that within the school. We want to respect the fact that they've done that and make sure that they get to use that technology that they've purchased. Infrastructure, we have to keep on that. We are looking at cloud, and right now we back up our data to the cloud. And that's strictly for disaster recovery. If we lost a server room, we could recover and put virtual machines in the cloud and recover our data and recover operations, providing we had network to do so. We also have our financial servers are off-site now, so that's from a disaster recovery point of view, we're looking pretty good. We still need local support, local devices in order to restore stuff, in order to stage the data. And we still need servers. There will be a transition to cloud, and into much more into cloud as time progresses, and I leave that to my successor. So, again, infrastructure, the network itself. Wireless obviously is one of our most crucial services, and we've Cedar Secondary and Ladysmith Secondary will have had their network upgraded this year to the new Aruba it was HP, now it's Aruba, so to the new gear, and that will last 7 or 8 years in each of those schools, 7, 8, perhaps more. Barsby and Wellington next year, Dover and Indy the following year, and then we go back to elementary, and then we phase it, and it's repetitive. You can't stop. You have to keep moving on this stuff. And so the move to mobile technology at elementary schools has allowed us to now start thinking about converting those labs into learning commons, into GI classrooms where possible. So it's freed up space where we don't have to put in portables as we grow, and that's all good news. Classroom suites, this was an E-Tag initiative of a couple of years ago now. Document camera, cart, projector, and so we want to keep supporting that in the schools. Other initiatives are embedded technology at ICE, non-enrolling teacher laptops, and support for family portals and portfolios. My Ed Family Portal rolls out full district next year, so that's another 10,000 users with parents and teachers and students, or parents and students rather, and looking at career cruising portfolio for grades 11 and 12. And so that's the ask for next year. So I went through that very quickly, and does anyone have any questions about that?
Trustee Grant? Just, I know when all of our family is at our house, with the grandchildren and their phones and the kids and their phones,
yes,
us and their phones,
yes,
laptops and top laps and all of the things that they have, it puts a strain on our Wi-Fi.
It does.
Does that happen in schools when kids are?
It does, yeah. We've seen it at a couple of schools, but it seems to be manageable at most schools. We're at the point now that I think we've hit maximum devices. So we want to support the devices. We don't want to turn anything off. We do have something in place where we can slow down Facebook and things like that. We can slow those down, or rather give other things the priority over those. So we have ways to deal with that.
So you can isolate access to certain.
Yes, yeah. Prioritize rather the good stuff over the stuff we don't want to. We tried blocking things a long time ago. It never worked, and it was a big job to keep up, and blocking sites and so you have to accept that people are going to use things for teaching as well. So we try to support it.
Thanks, Steve.
Trustee Kimler?
So technology is one of those strange animals where we don't know where it's going to be in 5 years, so it's
Correct.
hard to sort of plan ahead. But in the budget amounts that you showed in your last slide there really quickly, and
Yep, sorry about that.
are those in addition to what you would normally receive for a budget for IS and above and beyond?
This is capital, yeah. And so I have an operating budget as well.
Okay, so I guess my question really is, and I'm not stunned at all by the numbers, and I think that it's important for us to continue to make advancements in technology because it's obviously where we need to be and where we need to go, and I hope we can prioritize this and give you the money that you need. So no questions there, but my question to you really is have you gone through the exercise of trying to find, before you leave, trying to find a yearly sort of sustainable amount of technology funding that will be required to sort of keep, once we sort of get on par with everything?
Yes. Well, yeah, and that's it. We are now at evergreen status in the schools. So we have to just maintain that spend and maintain that.
So we're looking,
That's the number.
So that's the number every
Yeah.
year that will be required to sort of keep that going?
I can't. Yeah, and you know, there's something could change. Disruptive technology could happen, right? Like Google Apps for Education, that was a disruptive technology. That took off like a wildfire. But the idea is you've got to build the infrastructure to support something like that comes up. So if your wireless is good, if your wide area network, if your connection to the internet is good and your network is good, that gives you the resilience, because it will be wireless. You know, it's gonna be like wearable things, or you know, something like that, or drones and something.
So the other question that I had for you is, with respect to wireless monitoring at each of the schools, do you get a daily, monthly, weekly report about Wi-Fi usage, network?
We have those. We have that available to us. We don't do a report if we're. You know, the field foreman for the schools will look at that. We listen to users out there. If we get complaints that it's slow or it's you know, then we'll go in and we'll have a look and say why. And so then we look at those kind of things, and then we look at, you know, what's happening in the building, where are the devices located, and things like that.
And the reason I ask is, I guess, just because I know that there's automatic monitoring software that will just monitor Wi-Fi usage, and you can see your pinch points and
yes,
that kind
we
of
do
thing.
have that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
We're able to look at it fairly fine.
I just wanted to say, and then I'll pass it over to Superintendent Blaine, and for people who don't know, Steve is leaving us, he's retiring. So I just want to thank you for dragging us into the next century, from the time of 8-tracks and mustaches and things like that. Yes, to bringing us here. It's a very important part of our job, and thank you for your commitment to this school district, and we wish you the best in your retirement, and send us pictures from Tahiti.
All right, sounds good. Thank you, and thank you for the support.
Yeah.
Over the last few years.
Superintendent. Come on, Steve. Just one second.
That's fine. No, I just wanted to clarify for you. Steve has a budget for his staff, and that's a maintenance budget. And then this 1.3 is actually a rollover of last year's expenditures, and this is where he's going to be spending it this year. So we're aware this is just taking the original budget from this year and reassigning it for next year. So,
okay, great.
So it's not a significant shift in the budget itself.
Right.
Same as Dale.
Yeah, it's pretty much a zero.
So that what he's saying here, it's a zero.
Yeah, thank you.
And make sure it's zero the next time I talk to you.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks, Steve. Tanya, you're up. You have 5 minutes.
So following the last two, I don't have fun graphics. In the finance department, always bringing you guys numbers. I thought, let's switch that up and not. Do I? Oh, good, thank you. Okay, thank you. And thank you for looking after me. So yeah, here to represent Department of Finance. Departmental review, a lot of words in the slide. I just wanted everyone to have sort of clarity for some of the points. So 2017-18, we had a management reorganization for succession planning and capacity building, departmental restructure, student data collection, as everyone knows. There's been a bit of reorganization there. Learning Services has taken a piece, Finance has taken the piece that directly relates to funding, just so that we've got the ability to ensure that we've got controls, monitoring, and we can make sure we get the correct funding. Accountability. Central registration, again, for better planning and organization at schools. We had our M&P purchasing and P-card audit, so that's still a bit of a work in progress. There's been a lot of communication on that, so AP 513 will be updating that, as well as providing some P-card parameters for district users. And we had an AP accounts payable scanning project, which just gave us the ability to scan invoices and retain them and have electronic access to them in order to eliminate paper. We did some restructuring to the district budget presentation for transparency purposes and to be all-inclusive, as before we were providing more operational information and not sort of all of the special purpose, local capital, etc. Moved to budget our quarterly reporting as per the board request. And we are over the last few years, Finance has had some, has been fairly lean in their staffing, and due to some support, we've got that additional capacity. And one of the items that that helps us with is to better support some of the audits that are required, which enables us to ensure that we do have that funding. There's been times in the past where you know, we've lost funding due to non-compliance and so forth. So it gives us the ability to really have that hands-on auditing, ensure that we're fully compliant. And then we are also reviewing our financial processes and practices so that we can better support all other departments and ensure that we're providing the best support and being efficient. So our goals for 2017-18, which of course we are still working on: organizational effectiveness and accountability to support student learning. At the end of the day, if we are good at what we do and ensure our funding is as it should be, we can get those resources out to the schools and to better support our students in the classroom, which is why we're all here. We are aligning our financial reporting with the Ministry of Finance's direction for financial health and governance. That is a fairly large undertaking, which I know you guys are part of as well. So there is a lot of work being done there. We're researching cashless school systems. I'll speak more of that in a bit. And again, we're updating our document processes to ensure that we're lean, efficient, and have controls to protect our financial assets. And we're building our departmental capacity through task reorganization and staff development. Looking ahead, our 2018 to 2020 departmental goals: asset management, inventory, and replacement plan. Big goal of ours. This is an initiative that that is a large endeavor, but that's on the radar. Business continuity plan for the finance department. I'll speak more of that again in a minute. Purchasing the cashless system and implementing that out to schools. Updating the AP 513 for purchasing, and developing a departmental calendar of financial reporting. As you well know, there are a vast amount of reports that we're required to produce every year, as to learning services, HR, and so forth, and it's just nice to have something that can be taken over by anybody else at any given time if there's absences or anything, so that we know that we've got all the bases covered and all the timelines are met. There's no holes, there's no gaps, there's no risk, there's no issues. So that's something that we're looking at as well. So budget priorities, cashless school system. This would be a software. I'm not putting monetary values on, or we are not putting monetary values on this yet, as it's we're still in sort of the high level phase. But this would be one of our priorities, is the actual software system. The creation of the business continuity plan. There's a potential for consulting fees, maybe yes, maybe no, still to be determined.
Asset management inventory replacement plan, again, same thing, could be software, could be consultant fees, still working on that. And the compliance with the ministry directed health and governance, financial health and governance, should be able to sort that out in-house. But again, there's some talk that the ministry will provide us with some templates, some further information, and there could be cost to that. So again, working on sorting that out. So Cashless Schools, just to give you a little bit more information, this is a web-based software solution that would effectively take cash out of our schools. Secretaries, it's difficult to be in situations where there's a massive amount of cash and there's a big risk involved in that. So in order to protect the financial assets and our staff from just that risk, this is a really great initiative that we want to get in. It also allows us to have an online ability to put school-based swag, I guess, online for parents to purchase, permission slips, all kinds of things like that we can do right on the website. And again, prevents fraudulent activity, gives us some accountability and internal controls, and gets that financial risk out. For sure.
Yeah, what's the software?
There's a few, and that's what we're looking at right now. So there's Kev, there's a few different software solutions out there we've yet to choose. Okay. So that's what we want to do first, is get out there and look at what's available.
Can you give me the names of a couple?
Kev is one, Acorn is another. Yeah. As well, our own internal software, Power School. I'm not 100% sure yet whether they've actually come up with something. That'd be another one that we'd look into, just do integration. But yeah, looking into that for this year, and then looking to purchase that and move it along in the upcoming budget year. Financial health and governance. So we're working towards all of the directed compliance pieces. We have been given to June 2018. However, ministry has acknowledged the fact that not all districts may be compliant in all aspects. They are actually, I was at a conference last week and they mentioned that the risk management piece, districts are trying to find out what it is the ministry's looking for. And you've got 60 districts, all with a different perspective on what that might look like. So they're asking for templates, they're asking for a little bit more information before everyone sort of hits the ground running and tries to put a lot of man hours into sorting that out. Again, there could be some resources available to us, may or may not be cost. Business continuity planning. This is something that we've been discussing for a bit. It's something that I think we feel is very important. Disaster recovery is one piece of it, where fires, floods, all kinds of things can affect an organization's ability to operate, but also the actual disaster itself. How do we ensure everyone is safe? How do we ensure the integrity of our buildings? There's all kinds of pieces there, but then there's the how do we continue with our business after? Paying the vendors for any things that might have been supplied during the disaster, paying our employees, and so forth. So this is a massive undertaking. Generally, something like this is done through consultants. It's not something that can be, but not something that's generally done off the side of desks. It's also something that's somewhat departmentally created, rolling up into an organizational continuity plan. So we're hoping to work on our own financial piece that maybe initiative-wise we can have an organizational one, and it would roll up and into that. Asset management. Of course, we need to look at all of the assets within the organization, determine where they are in their life, where we might need to maintain, upgrade, dispose, and replace those most cost effectively. So again, this is a fairly large undertaking. This would include facilities and most other groups, and again, potentially this could be something where either we would need software or we would need the help of a consultant. So we have undergone some substantial changes over the last 18 months. We've increased our capacity, which we are ever so grateful for. It's enabled us to provide better outputs to the organization, support departments, be more efficient. We've developed a 3-year plan to better increase our operational outputs and to be more conscious of continuous improvement, financial management, and fiscal responsibility initiatives. So no, I didn't add a monetary value to that, but there will be some asks. Important to note, though, that there is a little bit of room we may be able to find within our own budget, just again, depending on where we're at with some of the costs of these. Questions?
Yes, well, first of all, thank you very much. You know, speaking for myself and the board, certainly the way we approach the budget now is much easier and for a lot of us to understand. So thank you for dumbing it down for us, and thank you for making it easy to understand it, and you do a great job articulating it. So thank you for your commitment to that. Trustee Kimler has a question.
A question and a couple comments. So with regards to the asset management plan that you've sort of outlined here, and also the disaster recovery plan. So I'm curious as to, I don't think that these are coming from the health thing that the ministry is asking for all 60 school districts. So I'm very curious to learn and understand. We're talking about putting an asset management plan in place and a disaster recovery plan in place. And is this an upgrade from a plan that we've had before, or is this something new for this district?
It's not necessarily, it's not new by any means. It's not something that we would necessarily be recreating from an entire perspective. We have our health and safety department. As you know, we've got our earthquake
preparedness.
Shakedown preparedness, yes. So we have strategies in place. We have communications in place. Important to note, thought exchange or school messenger. If lines of communication are open, that's a helpful tool. Steve was mentioning the cloud for disaster recovery for IS. That's another initiative. So we have some things in place. We do have some plans in place. But as a whole, looking at it from the perspective of if we were hit tomorrow with the big one that people talk about all the time, are we prepared to ensure that our human capital is safe, our buildings are able to be utilized by, the public for shelters, whatever. It's a huge thing. It's something that I'm fairly passionate about. Are we completely aligned from the top down? That's, I think, where we need to get to. And part and parcel of that is not only dealing with the disaster from the beginning, before, during, and after the actual disaster, but how we pick up the pieces and move forward after that, super efficient and quickly, so that we can best support all of our stakeholders. So it's a big thing. Again, we've talked about it a little bit because it's a big endeavor to ask people to do off the sides of their desk, and it's not we would be providing all the information, but creating these documents, these plans. This is what people do out there. There's people that, there's organizations that do this. It's also a living document. You have to have your command center. Who's going to be making the big decisions? You got to move kids from point A to B. Who's going to make that call to do it? If there's potentially an aftershock or something, right? So who's going to make those big decisions? Where are they going to be? Where's our secondary IS going to be located off-site? There's so many different little pieces of it. People come, people go. The person that might be in charge could potentially be injured, unfound. So are the people that are in these designated positions of authority or contact points, are they available? Who's our alternate? So this plan needs to be something that's created that so we can manipulate it and modify it as people come and go, as things change, as our facilities change. All around, there's a lot to it. And so what I would personally love to see is us having this, both disaster and continuity, and then we can take over the management of it ongoing. And your second question was the asset management.
No, not really.
Okay.
I'm more interested in the genesis of where is this coming from? Because it's not coming from the ministry, and these are not trivial, and these are super advanced business management techniques that, quite frankly, I imagine not many school districts do. And so I don't really heap praise very often, but my hat is off to whatever the driver is for this, because this is super important work.
I've done some work on this before, and it's something that, again, like I say, I am passionate about it because personally I've been in situations where there's been a break in service, and how do you pick that up? And had we not been in a place of somewhat organization, it would have been detrimental to the organization. So we're a huge organization. We've got children, we've got staff, we've got assets, we've got all kinds of things that we're responsible for, and I truly feel that it's something that we have the pieces all over. It's tying them all together now and having the awareness of who's responsible for what, if in fact it happens, because we have such a massive responsibility to our community.
Well, it's very impressive, so thank you.
I was just going to comment that clearly it's been on the radar of staff and something that we feel really passionate about, and both of those items are important. But just as a reminder, when the Ministry of Finance did do their review and they provided us with a number of recommendations, both of those items were in the review as recommendations that the school district needs to be looking at these. So
it's best practice too. Yeah.
Thank you. Anybody else? Thank you very much.
So that completes this week's show. And we stuck to it. Thank you, all of you. You stuck to your 20 minutes, and we spent less than an hour. And Learning Services, I believe, is next week. So stay tuned.
Great. Thank you very much. New business 16.1, the AMP report. Ms. McVeigh?
So we're simply reporting that in the board's closed meeting, they have approved the recommended stoplight diagram, which depicts our asset management plan. We don't have a copy of it to share tonight, as it was in the closed agenda, but has been brought to open. We can get that up online in short order.
This is what it looks like.
Yeah, I was going to say, unless we could get it on a document scanner. But what we will do is we'll make sure that it's available to the public, and it will also be used during our budget presentations.
And I guess I just wanted to add to that, what's important to note about this document is just because we've decided as a board that these are projects that we are going to talk about, doesn't mean there's for sale signs on every one of these facilities. All it means is we want to gather more information moving forward. So that's all it is at this point. So we will make sure it goes. Do you want to put it up?
Do you want a visual?
Sure, let's put it up
we
there.
We could try
so
to put it up
small.
it's
we'll
on
put it up
paper.
so everybody can have a look at it who's here, and
just to prove it's
well, it actually exists.
And just the colors, you can recognize it, so when you see it, you'll a bigger version, you'll know what it is.
And Dale, you'll put this on the web, right?
Yes.
Thank you.
I'm not sure it's going to show up really well, but sure. I don't know it's going to show up really well, but we could simply go through the columns.
For the audience, this is some of the work that we do around asset management and planning our properties and where they sit and how we move through the process to create an analysis of do we hold them in escrow for future use? Do we look at rentals? Do we look at next steps for them in future use or for new schools? Brooks Pooney, was it?
Yeah.
Brooks Pooney was involved in this with us. So we call this the stoplight. It actually started out with just a yellow, red, and green as a stoplight, but it's grown a little bit.
Oh, you want your copy? Copy?
Well, yeah, this is a couple like this column here, under red, is red. Meaning we're not doing any work with that. We're holding those properties. Retained for NOPSE stuff in Crescent, Rutherford, and Woodlands. That doesn't mean in 10 years' time they're gonna stay there, but that's also, so this is a portion of North Oyster. It's still in red, there's a larger property there for that. Harewood property, that's Crown property, as you're aware, and Davis Road is still tied into the discussions down at Davis.
Dale, can you move that back down a bit, please? And just leave it right there for a second.
Okay?
Yep, thank you.
So then moving over to here, you'll see assets and short-term development potential, 3 years and a high return. So the lower part is portions, meaning possibly under $500,000. The upper part is a larger portion of it. Investigate the disposition. So both of these are parts of a larger property, and we've suggested that they may or may not be in future use for the district, or are they potential sales at the time. So if we slide over to the blue column, this funny looking one here, this is actually blue. So that one is
Immediate opportunities.
You can see it better.
Complete disposition. Oh, okay. And so we're looking at for that one for VAST. Is it? How come there's the blue
yeah, one
sword?
more over.
Yeah.
There.
Yeah.
Hold on, Dale.
Yeah,
The blue.
There's a delay.
Who's driving?
Oh, there's a delay.
Yeah, who's driving this? Who jumped
Easy.
I'm looking for blue.
Yeah, you
Because
got
under green, we have nothing at the moment.
Right.
Immediate opportunities, right?
Yeah, and you're at blue right there, which
And
is
I'm at blue right here. Thank you. I wasn't prepared for this. Complete disposition. So we're looking at investigating. So we're now moving into an investigative role to look at Woodland Secondary and Selby properties. Okay, and so that means that we're asking Brooks Pooney to begin their analysis and to report back to us possible usages and et cetera around that. Secretary Treasurer, you wanted to? Okay. Former VAST down here is the VAST building where we have a rental. Also down, if I went down there, would be the South Wellington property, Extension property, as you're aware, which is a Crown property, an extension, a small section. And there's a section of Gabriola down here as well that we're looking at that the community is interested. And again, that's just a portion of the property that may be in excess for the district.
Yeah, just a suggestion moving forward. I find the moniker that's being employed with the blue square to be somewhat misleading because it says complete disposition.
Right.
And that's not really at all what we're talking about here. What we're talking about is like an investigative stage or investigating disposition, which I think would be a better term because the concern is, and the reason I bring it up is partly to let everyone know that when you see Woodland Secondary under the blue box, it says complete disposition. I could understand where a number of people would be, pulling their hair out. Oh no, they're planning on selling Woodland Secondary, and that's
really an investigative stage, right? So yeah, we can edit that. Yeah, we'll edit that, and we're in agreement. Over here, these are properties that we did have done just recently. Nanaimo District Secondary, the portions of the site, which was Sir Oxman Stadium and Rotary Bowl, and Old Victoria Road, which is Clay Tree. And the board is well aware of that, and we talked here about that. And the last piece are the successful, sold, and successful dispositions of these two pieces. If this was in progress, there'd be a difference there, but we've completed both of those, the cash is in the bank kind of idea, and so we can also say they're completed and finished, so they won't come back to the board in any document.
Great, thank you, Superintendent Blaine. That will be on our webpage so everybody can see that clearly. So, thank you. Any questions, comments, and concerns? Do you guys have any questions, comments, concerns? No? MJ? Questions, comments, concerns? Okay, good, thanks. 16.2 LSS. Trustee Kimler?
Sure. So we had a presentation tonight from the Ladysmith leadership students. They're
They're trying to create an initiative to develop a youth center someplace in the town of Ladysmith for after-school hours. It was a very wonderful presentation. They're trying to build some support for their project, and while I understand that our role is really to provide money for school activities, and this is something that would be outside of school activities, nevertheless, I wanted to have a discussion about this and try to find a way that the board, without spending any money, can support the efforts of these engaged students.
I guess I can speak to it. I think it's a good idea. You know, maybe we can write and Trustee Brozovic said it earlier, maybe we can write a letter of support to whomever they're, you know, asking money from. And just to, you know, throw out the school district's support behind them or something along those lines. Trustee Brennan?
Yeah, I would make a motion that the chair write a letter of support for the LSS Placemaker project, and that the group be permitted to distribute that letter to any agencies that they may be requesting support from.
Can I have a seconder, please? Seconded by Trustee Kinloch.
And I think you're right, Chair, that that's about as much as we can do without spending money. And we could perhaps also identify some sources of funding that they may want to consider. The Vancouver Foundation is one. There are others throughout the island too that have funds. Canadian Tire. So good luck to them.
Yeah, I'd like to add a friendly amendment if you would accept it, and that is to not only write a letter of support that they can use in their efforts, but maybe also write them a letter of thank you for coming to the board, and if at any point in the future, you know, should the project be advanced or they need additional help or would like to touch base with us, to feel free to contact us. And we're very supportive of their efforts.
All of that?
Well, something. I'm not trying to write the whole thing.
I accept it as friendly.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? Carried unanimously. Thank you. 17.1 board motions report. Any objection to receiving it? Any discussion? Seeing none. 17.2 vandalism reports. Did we go through there? Anything in there we need to look at?
Just the $3,700 theft at Brecken. What was it?
That's a report, yeah.
Computers.
Technology.
Technology, yeah. You mean like computers?
Yeah.
Have they caught the buggers yet?
We're working on it. I'm going to go out there after I'm finished here. Wander the neighborhood.
The sticks.
Yes. Thank you. MJ?
So, could I ask a quick question? Carrie, on the AMP, do we need a motion
On the, sorry?
on the AMP management
To make it public.
to make it public?
A motion,
The motion for close, was that the motion be moved to the open board?
I think by moving it to the open board,
becomes public.
it's now
Yeah.
public, yeah.
Yeah. All right. Any questions? Seeing none. Any objection to an adjournment? All in favor? Thank you, everybody. Thanks.
Yeah.